New information tonight about the Grapevine police officer involved in a deadly and controversial shooting last month. His work history at another department reveals discipline and training trouble. First on Fox 4, Richard Ray at DFW Airport, where the officer worked before joining Grapevine Force. Richard.
Good evening, Clarice. Robert Clark spent just over a year with the police department out here at DFW Airport. He never made it out of his probationary period. He was notified he was about to be terminated, then allowed to resign. 6 months later, he was hired by Grapevine Police. Sunday in Grapevine, hundreds march and protest over the police shooting death of an unarmed man in February, demanding the immediate release of dashcam video and the firing of Robert Clark, an officer who'd been on the job in Grapevine only a few weeks after a short and troubled tenure with his previous department. Robert Clark was hired by the DFW Airport Police in September of 2012. Initial reports from training officers describe a punctual and enthusiastic officer, but one who struggled learning the job. In his final weeks, he was assigned to intensive remedial training. Training officers wrote he does not fully understand the basic elements of a crime, citing interviewing and investigation deficiencies, needs to continue working on his accident investigation and officer safety skills. One female trainer wrote that he got overly upset with her, told her, "I hope you don't take this wrong, but I really learn better with men." At one point, Clark took his gun into the jail, a serious breach in safety policy. February 20th, about 6:30 in the evening, Clark tried to stop Ruben Garcia Villalpando for a traffic violation. There was a short chase that ended on the Highway 121 service road. One passing motorist recorded video before the shooting that appears to show Clark with his weapon drawn and Garcia with his hands on his head. Grapevine police say while Garcia did have his hands on his head, he refused commands to halt and kept advancing. He was shot twice outside the view of the dash camera. The shooting happened in Euless and is now being investigated by Euless detectives. Ironically, Officer Clark's problems with his previous employer, DFW Police, largely involved his off-duty life in Euless. A formal charge letter was sent to Clark in August of 2013, citing him for failing to notify the department that he had an off-duty job as a security officer at the Euless apartment where he lived, and a complaint alleging off-duty misconduct at a City of Euless park. The charge letter noted that Euless police said there were multiple reports with your name. The incident in the park prompted a formal complaint by a man whose dog had an altercation with a dog owned by Clark's girlfriend. Peter Lewis states that an angry Clark repeatedly told him he was a police officer and demanded that I needed to bring him $5,000. That Lewis come to a vet's office and sign an open-ended credit application, or he would go file a vicious dog warrant and have my dog seized and put down. Not long afterward, this email exchange between DFW's chief and assistant chief of police. Gun in jail, enough of an ass that someone came in and did a written complaint, a lot of poor judgment in the 2-3 months out of the academy. He's too new to be this much trouble. In August of 2013, Clark got an action letter notifying him that the appropriate course of action is to terminate you. But instead, he was allowed to resign, his formal resignation letter submitted in October. I did speak briefly tonight on the telephone with Clark's attorney, a man named Lance Wyatt. He said he is not in a position, Clarice, to talk about, to make any comment about these documents, but that he might have something to say to us tomorrow.
Richie just mentioned that Clark was given a letter that he was about to be terminated, but later he was allowed to resign. Tell us about that.
Yeah, a couple different people who are familiar with the situation told me that what happened is that the police chief was retiring as this process was going on, and by the time the new police chief came on, it was decided to allow him to resign rather than to terminate him.
Richard Ray live tonight. Thank you.